Welcome to Building Better, a podcast where we're going to cover everything you need to know about structurally insulated panels or SIP construction. If you know a little bit about SIPs, or even if you don't know anything about it, don't worry, we're here to teach you all and make it simple for you. If you're a contractor, a builder, an architect, a designer, a homeowner, or you just want to learn, you're in the right place. Thank you for joining us in a whole new episode, and today we have a special episode for you all. I'm Eric Hirschhorn, stepping in as your host for the day. You might be wondering where Gabriel is. He's your usual host. Well, today, Gabriel is joining us on the other side of the mic as our special guest. He is the CEO and founder of Preflex, and he has more knowledge on SIPs and SIP construction than any other person I know. And today, we're here to talk about just that. Gabriel's training and his company, Preflex. Hi, Gabriel. Welcome to your show.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for the intro. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So first of all, I think all the listeners would be very interested to hear about your journey and how you started. You're an engineer, right?
Yeah, well, Preflex started now 4 years ago when it was the first idea of doing a business around this solution was born. It started off while I was working in a different prop tech in Mexico as part of a big real estate group. We were working to do a prop tech for foreclosed properties to be auctioned off, especially bank-owned properties. And in that process, working with that team, I started to get more involved in this real estate group out of Mexico, which is called Grupo GIR. They had just opened this new innovation center where this first prop tech was born. A little bit of background on Grupo GIR. They are a very big real estate group out of Mexico, one of the biggest in the country. They do everything from construction to financial services for real estate, as well as banking and brokerage. They've built tens of thousands of homes all over the country, and they're always looking for newer ideas that they can bring to the market, and they can also, leave a grain of salt where in the sustainability aspect, as they build so many homes, they've always been interested in also giving back to the community and to the whole world by looking for different alternative ways of building. So yeah, back then when we're doing the foreclosed properties, I started doing a little bit of research on offsite modular construction because one of the principals in the group did a innovation course in Berkeley in San Francisco, and his name's Polo. He's one of the main persons in Grupo here, and he came back with this idea of sending prefabricated concrete forms from Mexico to United States to attend the homeless crisis that was happening in California. So I thought it would be perfect idea for me to write my thesis as I was my last semester in college. So I grabbed that same idea, and after doing some research, I saw that the biggest housing crisis wasn't just for the homeless. That was a very, very small part of it, but the crisis actually goes at a much bigger scale. And I had the idea of how can we attend this crisis of all these homes, millions of homes that need to be built to keep up with the growing population, especially in California, but all around the United States. But at the same time, we have another huge problem, that is that construction and buildings are the number one cause for the world's climate crisis. So we're thinking, how can we build all these homes at a competitive price point without, creating a bigger problem for the environment? And after doing some research and some due diligence on that specific subject, we were looking for different alternative methods that we can do in offsite construction, so we could also leverage the low cost of labor in Mexico and bring a product that could be cost effective but also sustainable. And through my research, I found SIPs, structurally insulated panels, which to this day it's one of the most sustainable, energy efficient ways of building. And it saves a lot of time in the construction phase. So at first our idea was to, sell complete finished modular homes that we can just pop into the site and people will be able to live on them. but our funding was very limited. So we were looking for alternatives, and the SIP was, as a panelized structure, it was hitting many of the points we were looking for. It wasn't a complete, like, finished home by any means, but it does help people who are building these finished homes do it faster and in a more sustainable way. So I got involved in the industry, went to the SIPA association meetings, met some very knowledgeable people on the matter that have been doing this for many years. I learned that the SIPs has been used in the United States and all over the world for over 50 years, but it has really never caught on or reached the mainstream market. And I believe the main reason for this is that there is like a lack of knowledge in the product, a lack of people really worrying about how their homes are built. Most people worry about what their countertops look like, what their flooring will look like, but they're not really thinking of how their home will be built. And this is very important down the line. We're having an increase of natural disasters every year, and it's increasing exponentially. The air quality outside is becoming worse and worse, and we really need to start considering what our houses are getting built with. And yeah, so that's like a little bit of background, how this all got started from the start. I think it was a collaboration between me and Leopoldo, who is the principal at Grupo here, that we started thinking of different alternative ways of building low-cost, sustainable, energy-efficient homes.
That's amazing. I think it's great. You raise very important points. First off, I love that as your thesis project for was it college where you started researching SIPs?
Yeah, it was my last semester in college. I studied in the Universidad Iberoamericana in Mexico City, and it was like a competition between all the grade of industrial engineer, where everyone need to evaluate a project and compete against the rest of the class. And my project got first place in that competition, so that was also got the people very excited about the project and what of the future it can have. So after that, I went to the International Builder Show in Las Vegas, started talking to some people, and I see that people in the SIP industry really think that this hasn't caught on for many years because, first of all, it's more expensive than stick framing. It gives you a house that is much higher than code minimum. So when people compare to like building with stick frame or building with SIPs, they're not comparing apples to apples, right? Because when you're building with SIPs, you're getting a much higher value product. It's like if you build a house that is just minimum to pass the code, it's not in any way going to be less expensive than building a SIP home. But if you're thinking about an energy efficient structure that you want to last for a lifetime and to be the highest quality possible and save you money down the line on your energy bill, and you wanted to build that same level of energy efficiency with stick frames, by all means, SIPs are much more cost effective and faster building method.
I also love that you brought up the fact that people are more worried, with the finishes of the house, what the floors are going to look like, what the doors and the windows are going to look like, but nobody's really paying attention to what goes inside your home, right? What's the structure of your home? So I think that's a great point that I think a lot more people should pay attention to. And if they did, probably more people will be building with SIPs.
Something like we find very interesting is that while only 1% of homes in the United States are built with SIPs, we're seeing that 10% of homes that are considered net zero ready are getting built with SIPs. And this is because once you start comparing SIPs to sticks at that level of energy efficiency, the Net Zero Ready is a program that was developed by the Department of Energy to classify homes that are really reducing the amount of energy they need to become a net zero structure, which means that they are producing the same energy that they are consuming. But they don't want you to just go out and just build any home that you can fill with solar panels and batteries and make it net zero. They want you to reduce the amount of energy that needs to be produced. So really what translates to a well-built structure of how it's made is airtightness. You know, if your house is very airtight, that doesn't allow any air or in or out of the home, it really translates to having a energy efficient home, because the same way that air cannot go through the home, temperature won't be able to go through it. And also sound, right? These homes are also much quieter if you live around like a airport area, or you're building a couple units next to each other. These walls will really help you like with the noise transmission, as well as these homes will perform that same way 30 years down the line. You know, when you're building with bad insulation or polyurethane, these type of insulators decay over time. And the problem with this decaying over time is that your home, first of all, your home loses the R value, which is the resistance to keep temperature in or out of the home. But it also is allowing more and more, it's off-gassing this decay into your home, right? So besides it losing the resistance, it's also transmitting chemicals into your home that you're breathing, and that can really be harmful for your health down the line. So besides being energy efficient, these homes are also healthy. And we guarantee, our product has a 20-year warranty that we won't decay in R value, and it really will be much more than 20 years. A lot of people, when they think of SIPs and they see that the core is made of styrofoam, styrofoam is plastic made of petroleum, a lot of people think like, how can this be green, or how can this be energy efficient? Besides, there is all these regulations that are asking people to stop using styrofoam. And these regulations are mostly for one-time, not mostly, completely for one-time use products like containers or cups, because the problem is people use the cup, use the container, they throw it away, and what happens with that landfill? It never decays. That landfill doesn't decay. It can be recycled into more EPS products, but it won't decay over time, and that's a problem for when you're thinking about landfill. But when you're thinking about the home you're gonna be living in a 50 or 100 years, that's exactly what you want. You don't want to be changing your home's insulation and worrying about it gassing into your home. You want a home that's gonna be well built and it's gonna last a lifetime. So maybe upfront, if you pay for a more premium product, it's gonna save you money down the line, and it's gonna save you headaches. It's exactly what we think it's gonna be the future of building good structures and homes.
I'm excited to see what the future of Preflex looks like, and I wonder, what is your idea? Where do you see Preflex maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years? Where do you see SIPs in the market?
I think that SIPs are just starting to catch the mainstream market. I think we're right in the point where we're gonna reach the chasm of the product adoption, where we finally reach the mainstream market. And I have 5 reasons why I believe that the SIPs will become and hit the mainstream market in the next 5 to 10 years. And the first that I already mentioned is the increase of natural disasters. These natural disasters, the ones that increase the most, have been storms and hurricanes. SIP panels' performance against projectiles hitting the wall, or for them to being like hold down into the foundation, it's much greater than a stick frame structure. So I believe that areas that get affected by storms, tornadoes, and hurricanes and earthquakes are gonna be having to rebuild at a very fast rate, and a very good solution that will give them a very strong home that won't get damaged if there's a storm again would be made out of SIPs. So I really believe that rebuilding these affected areas is gonna make the SIP industry grow a lot, as well as I mentioned the net zero market that is growing very fast. We've seen a growth of over 440% since 2020. And also, the third point would be the shortage of labor. Right now, for every 5 laborers that leave the construction industry, only 2 new come into it. So as time passes, there's gonna be a more and more shortage of these laborers, and the skilled labor, which there is even fewer of, is gonna be more and more scarce, and the SIPs are just much easier to build. It doesn't take like a super experienced carpenter to build a SIP home. It's only about nailing stuff together, no more worrying about measuring and cutting. I mean, it does require some minimum knowledge of how to, run a saw and run a drill, but besides that, it's very minimum skilled required. So I think it's gonna be easier to find crews that can set these homes up, that carpenters that need to be on site, like cutting and measuring all the different 2x materials on the job site. And the fourth reason I think it'll go mainstream is because of the shortage of homes. We need to build homes, and we need to build them faster, and we don't want to build them in a way that they're gonna get damaged or that they're gonna not be sustainable, especially here in California. We saw the first incentive at the federal level with the Inflation Reduction Act back in 2021 to incentivize energy efficient sustainable structures. At a federal level, you can get up to $5,500 for single family homes and $3,500 for multifamily per unit you build. So that really adds up for someone that's building 100 homes a year. They can reach $300 to $500,000 in tax credits. And this last year, 2023, we saw California release their first of their incentives for this sustainable energy efficient buildings. They're calling it the BUILD program, putting that incentive up to $9,500 for single family homes and $6,000 for multifamily per unit. So I think more and more we're gonna see government really incentivize that type of construction because it's in their best interest for people to build above code minimum required homes, as well as homes that get built that do less damage for the environment. And the fifth reason is the construction industry is one of the slowest industries to pass through the process of digitalization. We're still building the same way we have been building for 50 years. Very little has changed, but more and more we're starting to see softwares and different digital tools that we can use in the construction that's gonna really transform the whole industry, because it's gonna happen. The construction will go through a process of digitalization, and when it does, we're starting to see some countries like the United Kingdom. Now you need to when you wanna apply for a permit, you're not delivering CAD drawings anymore. They want your full BIM model, which is your 3D model of the whole building with all the little aspects and mechanical and electrical in that 3D design. So you're building already in the 3D space, and you have to submit this to the city. And I think other countries will catch up with this. And when this happens, all of these little 3D drawings that are getting drawn up in the BIM are gonna be able to be manufactured offsite to a precision. So the construction process can be streamlined and can go much faster. And I think when we hit this point, the SIP panels really help the BIM model be able to design that exact same wall that you're drawing in a 3D space, get shipped to the job site, and get fabricated to that specific specification. The same as it's to be getting drawn up in your 3D design, it can be printed pretty much in our facility off site. We can grab that same model, put it into our machinery, and print that exact same piece to a 16th of an inch of tolerance. So I think those are the 5 reasons why I believe that the SIP industry will go mainstream in the next couple of years. And as far as Preflex, I believe that Preflex, right now we are very focused on this system that already exists, which is the SIP, the OSB skin and EPS core SIP panel. But what we're trying to do is really do some research and development, come with our proprietary system that is not just your structure and your insulation, but also includes your firewalls and your waterproofing, as well as your siding. So it's a complete system. It's a plug and play panel that has all what is required from your wall assembly to be able to build that house much quicker. We're starting off with the core, with the skeleton of the home. That is very important, but our idea, and we're already doing this, we're already experimenting with different type of materials, different type of sheathings that are fire rated, that are waterproof. So eventually we'll come up with our own system that is gonna streamline the construction process even more.
That's amazing. One last question before we end today's episode. I'm curious to hear what advice you would give anybody coming into the construction industry, any young people coming in as architects, builders, engineers, or maybe even as entrepreneurs.
The first advice I would give to anyone coming into a new industry or starting an entrepreneurial project would be to not give up. It's probably gonna be much harder than you're expecting. It's probably gonna take much longer than you're thinking, and you might not end up doing exactly what you started off at the beginning. But if you believe in yourself, you surround yourself with good people in the industry, you rely on a good mentor, and you keep pushing through, I'm a firm believer that eventually you'll find your way. And it's just a matter of the will to keep going forward and to keep growing yourself as a person, learning from other people's mistakes, from their successes, and doing anything that you can to keep the business growing, and just do anything that you can to have a continuous growth and continuous improvement in your business until you find that specific niche. You really need to know your market, get to know what are the needs and how to get to your specific buying persona, and just keep focusing until you find that perfect combination.
Amazing. Well said, Gabriel. Thank you so much for all your insights. I'm sure everybody's gonna love hearing your story and the behind the scenes of Preflex and Preflex history. So this concludes today's episode of Building Better. Please go follow us on Instagram at Preflex Buildings, and you can ask questions, interact, and see what we're up to every day here at Preflex. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next month with a whole new episode of Building Better. I'm Eric Hirschhorn, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.